today is day 5. I was listening to a video about this psychiatrist answering questions that people gave him online about happiness and stuff like that, and just got my mind going. I thought I'd make a video just kind of answering those kind of, well, actually I would say I kind of want to make a video to myself, what I would want my younger self to have heard, some advice that I would want my younger self to hear. So, the video was pretty interesting. I feel like a lot of the things that the guy said, I need to stop saying I feel like a lot of the things that the guy said, the psychiatrist, I feel like it was very, I don't want to say I already discovered or already kind of knew what he was going to say. He put it very eloquently, but I feel like a lot of the advice he gave was pretty basic. I feel like a lot of it was very things that I already knew, but not in a way that I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm so great. So I just kind of wanted to make this to kind of talk to myself when I was younger, I guess, and advice I would want to hear, and I would wanted to have heard, and tips for what I was going through. Because when I was younger, I had some pretty bad anxiety over stupid crap. Wasn't as bad as like a lot of people. A lot of people have like fully disabling anxiety, like really bad, like social anxiety, and kind of like it's so bad to the point that they struggle with things from a day-to-day basis. But mine was more like, I'd wake up and I would just like kind of feel really like, man, something's bad's gonna happen today. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, even if you don't count yourself as somebody who has anxiety. I don't count myself as that anymore. I've since passed, so that's why I feel like I don't have like I didn't have a disorder. It was more like something I had to grow into, essentially. But there are things to be anxious about every day that is normal, especially like the day and age we live in. Like everything's pretty fast. It's almost like you don't have time to stop and think. But I just wanted to do this from my point of view. I'm not making assumptions or telling anyone else what to do. This is, obviously clicked on this to hear my opinion, so this is my opinion. One of the biggest things for me was when I was younger, self-soothing things like, breathing techniques and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they were good. It kind of felt good to do them, but really, like, actually helping you, it doesn't really work. It's more of, it helps you in that moment kind of, like, survive through what you're through. Say, like, you're going in a doctor's appointment or whatever, and you don't want to, like, freak out in front of everybody in the appointment, like, the waiting area. Yeah, it makes sense. But some people, like, rely on that, I feel like 24/7, which is like that's not a solution to a problem. It's kind of just like it's like training wheels to get you to the next, point. But that's no way to live, It's pretty depressing. So like my first thing would be like, yeah, that doesn't work. That stuff all kind of it works, but it's not the solution to the issue. It's that's a different thing, if it's like purely situational. Man, this car is disgusting. yeah, but like self-soothing breathing techniques, rocking back and forth, things like that. Don't rely heavy on that. It's very much like I said, kind of like a little crutch, little little help to get you to wherever you're going next till you get out of the situation that you're in, you know what I mean? So, that's kind of my opinion on that, on those breathing techniques. Got a little list here so I didn't forget anything. Oh, this one's good too. Chemical imbalances or vitamin deficiencies. I'm prone to having a deficiency in vitamin D, which is, nicknamed the happiness or the happy vitamin. I don't know what people call it exactly, but I know that I've been told it's the one that has to do a lot with happiness and regulating, how you feel, like, happiness or joyfulness. But that I have a deficiency, so I have to take supplements every now and then. Towards the summer, I tend to, like, right now I don't really take them, but when it starts getting darker out and I need some, help supplementing myself, I will start to take them like every single day. And that's something I feel like a lot of people don't really look into, especially like got a diet of like Mountain Dew and Cheetos or hot Cheetos and freaking iced coffee. Yeah, you probably have some kind of deficiency. You're not helping yourself at all. Diet is big help with all that kind of stuff, especially if you're like, you have no reason to be anxious or depressed and you just feel like garbage all the time. It's underrated how important eating well and sleeping enough and doing all those things like right. It's underrated how much that impacts your health, like really, not just physical but like mental, especially mental. I would say it's even more important for mental health. Just giving your brain the stuff that it needs, dude. Like to chill out, like to sleep, to get back the energy that it needs. That's pretty important. So, yeah, definitely, look into vitamins. If you're in the position to, go see if you can get blood work done. That I got my blood work done because, I'm lucky that my parents were, concerned with me. Got to pay for that. Um, well, what's next? Let's see what's next. Gratitude. Yeah, one of the things that the guy mentioned in the video, the psychiatrist, he had an experiment or it's more of an exercise now that he had his students do. He made them basically write down 10 things that they're grateful for every single day. Things that, like, everyday things that they're grateful for, and had them write it down on a piece of paper, and kind of he had them the next week like look it over, and if they wanted to change something they could change, if there was something that they were, say, more grateful for than they realized. And that's something that people get wrong a lot, is like talking to yourself and trying to control your own mind, even just a little bit, just in the way that, like, okay, I'm going to be grateful about this, like consciously choosing to be grateful about something, is a lot more powerful than you think. It's underestimated how much power that holds, because at the end of the day, like, and here you're alone, like it's just you. Who can really just help yourself? Who can really help you? To say, like, if you go to a psychologist or whatever, they can give you like exercises. They can talk with you through things and stuff like that, and they're definitely a huge help, I'm sure. But you really gotta, like, in your brain, like, you are alone up there. Like, it's just you. You're only the person that can truly help you. You're the only person that can truly see the change, right? The 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 happiness, increasing in your life. Like, the only person that can actually see that kind of stuff is you, or really feel it, right? So, talking to yourself and being kind of in control of your thoughts, at least to the best of your abilities, talking to yourself, like, understanding the things that you're grateful for. Even if it's small things, like small things to be grateful for, like, you know, I'm happy that I have my parents. I'm happy that I have food on the table. I'm happy that, I have a job. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just, you know, things that we take for granted, especially living here in the US. Like, we got it good here, I'm sure there's a lot of things to complain about. People can complain about anything, but not letting yourself do that, that's a big help. And also kind of not waiting for things to happen for you, you know? Being grateful for what you have is great, and also being grateful for the small things. Not just waiting for, like, waiting for something good to happen to me. Like, you gotta seek it out, seek what you're grateful for. And it's your job to be grateful for it, because, like, we have a lot of things to be grateful for here, even if it's the smallest things, like, there's always going to be a bigger fish. There's always going to be someone that, has got more money than you. Always going to be someone that's got, a better car, bigger house, like, all those stupid things, but that's not something to, like, base your happiness upon. It's not like material things shouldn't be your goal, like I said in my other videos. But that's, like, one of the biggest things that, like, consciously being, like, if you're feeling like you're getting anxious, kind of talking to yourself, being like, this ain't real. I know sometimes you can feel it and you understand, like, that whatever you're feeling isn't real. It's just kind of in your head, your disorder, or whatever you want to call it. But you got to help yourself so that, that it stays up there, that you're not going out kind of, in a weird way, like, ruin everyone else's day. Kind of putting it on other people, Because I know when I was anxious, man, I feel like, because I was a kid, I was so dependent on, like, my parents, and so dependent on them, and so dependent on, like, my family, that I feel like, if I felt down, I kind of just put it on everyone else, even if it wasn't on purpose, But that's, like, a big thing that a lot of people don't understand. Another thing that helped me greatly is the gym. And I know a lot of people really don't like going to the gym, Vadam, but haven't even tried it either, Vadam. But, the gym has helped me so much. When I first started going, I, like, because it made me feel so good, pushing myself through however I felt to just go, and kind of, I would come out and I wouldn't feel anxious. When I was in there, I kind of, like, forgot about how I felt in like, a good way, and I forgot how I felt, I forgot, like, how bad I was feeling that morning, and anything I was anxious about. I forgot about all of it, and it was wonderful. Still is wonderful. But having just that kind of thing that you put yourself through to, like, improve, it's so important. So important to have, like, something like that, even if it's not weightlifting, like, you could go for a run, but physically exhausting yourself, going back to that kind of, like, kind of mode of just, like, working, like, on yourself too, with running or whatever it happens to be that physically exhausts you, like, yes, you should be doing something. Everybody. I don't think it's a coincidence that the rise in office jobs is almost the same as, like, the statistics are the same as, like, the rise in mental health issues and stuff like that, And also, like, if you look during COVID, right, everybody was so cooped up in their house, probably, many people stopped going to the gym, I'm sure. And I'm sure that had, even if you don't really notice it, sure that had an effect on your health, whether you know it or not. But, like, mental health, I mean. Everybody's always, talking about go to the gym, kind of as like a joke. But that really does come from a true, everybody should go to the gym, or at least some kind of like physical activity that physically exhausts you. I know everybody's in different positions, everybody's in different weight classes, Not everybody wants to lift weights. I fully understand that. And, if weights is not your thing, that's great. That's fine. There's plenty of other things that you can do. There's cycling, there's rock climbing, but as long as, like, at the end of the day, you are super tired, and you feel like you accomplished something, only good can come from that, I think. So, I mean, I'd go into the gym, super anxious, freaking out. Man, I'm so worried about what's gonna happen, What's happening with the world? What am I gonna do about this? What am I gonna do about the housing or whatever? Go inside the gym, dude. You're like, ooga booga. All I do is push weight, and as stupid as that sounds, it feels good. You feel like a different person, I mean, that's just how it is for me. So I just hope, that everybody else can improve on that too, in that same way. The next thing for me is definitely day-to-day living. So, if you're anxious all the time, it's because you're trying to live in the future, trying to plan for the future, and you're missing the today, you're missing the now, you're missing, what's happening right in front of you. And I definitely was like that, man. Just like so worried about what's gonna happen, you're not worried about what's actually happening, And it's not even what's gonna happen, it's more like what could happen. And that's awful, now that I think back to it, it's like that's an awful way to live. That's an awful way to be thinking, because you're not helping yourself on things that, like, truly 100% matter, that are here and now. You're kind of just like, you're worried about, small things like your future, or not small things in your future. Your future's not small, but small things in your future, small things, that you gotta worry about, having them in your mind is not bad, but overly obsessively worrying about things that are not even in your control yet, or they might not ever be in your control. What is the point? And that was a hard thing to get over. Trying to live for day to day. It's hard to change your mind, to start thinking, overriding that whole, like, self-preservation thing that you got going on in your mind, and just like being like, no, I'm gonna just think about the now and here. And I'm saying all this like it's so easy to do. I'm well and understand that it's something that takes years to try and fix and try and improve about yourself. It's not easy, but it is possible. I mean, I did it, so if I can do it, I feel like anybody can. So that's definitely one thing that's very important, is day to day. These are all, take this whole thing like with a grain of salt. I understand people have real problems in their lives that that they're really anxious about, and real things coming up in their lives that they are anxious about, that are like, that's coming, like a test, like a huge test for your finals, or maybe you have a child on the way, those are all huge things that, like, it makes sense to be anxious about those things. But differentiating the things that make sense to be anxious about and the things that you can't control, you can't change. That's a huge difference. And one is worth worrying about, aka, big things like a test or a kid or whatever. And then the other things don't matter. Sometimes there's nothing to worry about, but it's kind of like this, you got like a doom mindset that like the whole world's going to be ending soon. But like people have been saying that for so long. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. Nothing is ending around here. Every single year there's always some kind of great thing that's happening. So coincidentally, or not coincidentally, actually, not at all. My last point about the whole doomsday thing, that all relates into my next point, which is social media and the news. So I'm Gen Z. I don't watch the news because I'm not a boomer. I used to get all my news from Instagram, things like that, real reputable news sources, right? But I wasn't seeking it out. It just happens to, it trickles down. Even if you follow like a ton of just like accounts that post like funny stuff, like you'll still get news, like no matter which way you cut it, because you're connected with everybody, You hear everything that everybody is saying. Man, like I was saying, I'm Gen Z. I get my news from the internet, from social media and stuff like that, or I used to get it. And the biggest thing for me was like, people always trying to get clicks, people always trying to get, taps on their social media, their accounts, or, people are trying to get likes, reposts, whatever. And they'll just post anything to make you think that that's the last post you're going to make because the world is ending soon. And I had that when I was like 14. And all those news stories that I was worried about when I was 14 have not and will not affect me. It has nothing to do with my life, It has nothing to do with anything that happened, like nothing. The things I got scared of were like speculation, and nothing happened. None of those things that I was anxious about, like I tracked them. None of them happened. And I was there like a bozo, freaking out about these things, going to my parents and being like, hey, when are we moving out of the States because the world's ending or whatever, like, and none of that crap happened. None of it. And I was, sitting here falling for this, like, it's like boomer clickbait. Or I guess it's clickbait for everyone because they get everyone with them. But none of it has really affected me at all. And I let it ruin, I'd let it ruin days of my life. Like, maybe even weeks. I'd be thinking about that one scary, news thing that I saw. Just thinking that, it's all going to come crumbling down. I'm sure so many people relate. But I was smart enough to understand, oh shoot, that thing I was worrying about the other day didn't happen. And it's like that machine, like, man, once they get people, to forget that their prediction about, World War III or whatever wasn't right, didn't go anywhere. Like, people just forget about it too. Nobody kind of seems to understand, oh, it's like a cycle, This might happen, and then it doesn't. Okay, on to the next story. I get that the news has to make their money. They got to get people to click on it. But for someone who's, predisposed to being anxious about stuff, especially about, things that are out of your control, like world news and stuff like that, there is no good reason that you should be sitting on Fox News or CNN or whatever. Ruin your mental health about that kind of stuff, And I was obsessed. I was obsessed with politics. I was really deep in there, thinking man, who's the next president gonna be? Who's gonna be this? And it does have an effect. But I feel like the only news that you should let affect you is the news that gets to you, by other means. So, in other words, instead of like waiting for the news or looking at the news site all day, as a lot of people do, it's kind of more like, wait for the news to get to you in a natural means. You know what I mean? Like through discussion with somebody else, because that might be the news that actually affects you. Say like something happened in your town, or the new a new governor got elected, or whatever, or you voted for that governor. You can research into those things that are important, that actually affect you. But worrying about what happens all across the world, things that you can't change. I understand there are things you can change, but things that you can't change, things that are in your control, cut it out. Cut it out of your life. The world hasn't gone under because I stopped watching the news. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna affect it at all. So what's the point of letting it affect you so heavily? And one thing that's actually worse than news is social media. And I know I'm kind of a hypocrite, but I don't really, because I'm posting on YouTube, but I don't feel like YouTube really is a social media. I feel like, it's more of like a video watching platform. I'm talking about Instagram, Snapchat even. Like if you're an adult, I'm talking 25 plus, and you got Snapchat, like it's time to go get married. It's time to go have a family. But yeah, social media was a real big cancer in my life. I still got it, because I like to post stuff, and every now and then I still have it on my, I have my accounts, but I don't have the app on my phone. I don't get the chance to go like on Instagram Reels and like doom scroll for 10 hours or whatever. And that's like a precaution that you set for yourself so that things like that don't happen. That you don't just get on your phone and sit on it for like 10 hours because you got nothing better to do. And usually, most of the time, let's be honest here, you do have something better to do. And then you complain about not having time. It's an oxymoron. Like, you either do have time, or you don't. You don't have time for one thing, aka sit on Snapchat, sit on Instagram for hours at a time, just scrolling, TikTok, all that. And also have the time, or don't have the time to do actually anything that's like important, aka go to the gym, aka work more, work on a skill that you have, or simply sitting there not on your phone, to me is better than sitting and doom scrolling. I mean, that's a real issue. It's like hours and hours. People, you see your screen time. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. That's how I know about this, It's all first-hand experience. Sitting on Instagram, sitting on Facebook, sitting on whatever. And it doesn't even have to be Reels. It doesn't have to be short-form content, If you're not improving from it, it's just kind of like brain rot, skibbity toilet and all that. Like, you're not gonna improve for that stuff. It's just nonsense that you're just filling your... Like, what the psychiatrist said, he put it perfectly. He said, going on social media for hours at a time and, sitting on there for a long time and just, like, scroll, like, whatever, and keeping doing that, that's like eating, like, a whole ton of French fries and then wondering why you're getting fatter, wondering why, you have no nutrition, wondering why, your health is suffering. It's like there's the answer right in front of you. We got, we live in, like, the best era of time, right? Our quality of living is unmatched compared to, the past, even in the U.S. But we got new issues, that need to be solved. We have new issues that need to be dealt with, and social media addiction is like one of them. Because instead of being addicted to a drug that the difference is, this one's in your pocket. and you open it all the time, and it's just dopamine. You're addicted to dopamine. And that also ties in, and is proven to be tied in with, anxiety and depression, and, overloading your dopamine receptors so that nothing, feels good anymore to you. It's just like everything's boring to you because you're so used to like instant gratification, instant just videos of whatever you watch. But I mean, that's one of the biggest things that, for me that I had to do to help myself was to get rid of all social media. It's just such a waste of time wasters, It's like you'll be surprised how much time you have free up when you don't spend 10 hours a day just scrolling on Instagram or Facebook. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but that's what you gotta do to get your point across. But the biggest advice to anybody, anxious or not, is delete all your social media. Delete all your things that waste your time. You will see, at least for a week, just try it. You will see how dependent you are. You open your phone, you go click on that stupid icon. You'll see how much you use that, and you'll see how much time will get freed up. You'll see. It's like a lot of time. You have a lot of time to do other stuff, other things. So another thing you got to pay attention to is the kind of people you got in your life. Be it friends, significant others, if you got somebody that's really just, stresses you out, it's not someone that's bringing you happiness. And I understand every situation is different, but if you got someone that's, a toxic person, someone who's not trying to be, helpful to you, someone that plays games, stresses you out, it's a long road to understand that maybe they're not supposed to be in your life. And it's not easy, I'm sure, but cutting, friends out that say that, don't really act like your friend. You gotta kind of be like, would this person die for me? Would they do, set themselves aside to save me if it meant, sacrificing themselves? And would you do the same for them? I mean, it's a two-way street. Friendships isn't just about you. You narcissist? I'm kidding. But friendships are a two-way street. There's got to be two sides, and that's the same with relationships. There's two sides to the coin. And, if you expect a lot of people, they should be able to expect a lot of you too. You should be able to hold up your end of a bargain, hold up your end of the, I guess, in a relationship, there's two people, both sides. And each side, there's got to be compromise. Can't just be about one, either way. And it's hard to, I'm sure, let go of, like, friends that, I've had to do that. Let go of friends that I could see were not for me, They weren't my friends. They weren't my brothers. And it's hard to do that, but sometimes, you gotta do stuff that's uncomfortable now so that you can, reap the rewards later, I guess. You gotta help yourself now in a comfortable way so that you don't get stuck in a cycle forever, Get married to the wrong person, or, have the wrong friends around you that tear you down. Like, some people, if they just didn't have the wrong friends in their life, they would be feeling great all the time. But sometimes it's like you surround yourself with garbage people and then wonder why you smell like garbage. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And, some people think that person doesn't influence me. I just like being around them because they're fun. That's not true. Even if it's a small, tiny bit that person's, influencing you, you shouldn't be around them if you can help it, You gotta be really, be honest with yourself. Like, do you actually feel like you're making a good impact on them? Or are they slowly moving you towards their side? Are they slowly moving you to how they are, Maybe they're not doing it on purpose. But basically, just cutting toxic people out of your life. That's so important. Cutting people out that their priorities ain't right, Even people, they might look good. They might be like, I got my priorities straight. I work all the time, and I all I care about is money. I mean, dude, that's not right. Real priorities, family, loyalty, God, just stuff that is true, that you know to be good and true. Things that are genuine and have a value to them that exceeds, just monetary. But I can't stress how important the people around you is. My last video I said, at the end it was kind of a joke, but it's true. You surround yourself with people that are better than you so that, you can become better. And you just gotta keep that mindset going. Keep that mindset of, I want to be the best. So I'm gonna surround myself with people that are, wonderful. People that genuinely love you, genuinely care for you, genuinely want what's best for you. Not just people that are using you as like a pawn in their scheme. And I'm sure everyone out there can name at least one person that they know kind of just sees them as like a follower rather than a friend, Everyone knows at least one person. And if you can see that, that's the most important step. Just realizing that, stepping back and genuinely, does this person care? Or am I just there for them? It's a two-way street. Two-way street. And also, look at yourself too. Look at yourself. Wonder, am I a crap person? Am I using people for myself? Am I using people to make myself feel better? Being authentic, being real, so rare nowadays. So if you just have that realness, like, things that are rare, they're precious. And you'll become precious because you're true to yourself first. If you see your flaws, that's good, You have one less flaw if you can see your flaws. And, work on yourself. The best way to, get over an addiction or a problem that you got in your life is to first admit that you got it, at least to yourself, because then you have a point to work off of. But some people live their whole life and they, never get to that point that they understand that, like, the people around them are ruining them or just making everything in their life, darker. They're making it worse. And I'm sad for those people. The last and most important thing is to have God in your life and to have a real, genuine relationship with Him. Because at the end of the day, the gym, if you go to all kind of self-improvement stuff, or just every little thing that you can do to try and help yourself, if you don't have a genuine relationship, you don't work on it, you don't improve yourself, you don't try to become better every single day for Him, you're not going to have true meaning in your life. You're always going to be kind of looking for something to try and satiate that, but true joy only comes through the Lord. And I think a lot of Christians nowadays even have a struggle accepting that. They try to help themselves, you know. You can only help yourself so much till you get to the point that you need God. But you need Him off the rip. You need Him right away. And until you humble yourself, and kind of understand that you can't fully do it by yourself, you need His help. That's the only time that you're going to be able to really improve yourself, that you're really going to be able to change who you are as a person for the better. You got to move forward in only that way. All those other things I said, you know, they help you physically, but for your soul, you know, if you're looking for something, you know, the door's open and He's there waiting for you. And you will find the answer. That's pretty much it. I just had a really good little idea that I saw. This one guy made a video. I thought that was pretty neat. And I was like, yeah, let me give my 2 cents on this. I did a fairly good job of covering all my points. But pretty easy steps, you know? I'll just say them one more time. Self-soothing doesn't really help for actually helping yourself. 7, chemical imbalances and vitamin deficiencies. Gotta get them checked. 6, gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for the small things that you take for granted. Waking up, having your sight, your smell, your hearing, your sense of touch, your family, your friends, all of it. Everything is a blessing. Going to the gym, exerting yourself, helping yourself physically, like exhausting yourself completely. Living day to day, worrying about only today, not worrying about everything else, 10 years in the future and all that. Not bad to have those thoughts, but day to day is what you have to do. That's how you gotta live. 3, social media. Cut it all out. You don't need it. It's not gonna miss you, so why should you miss it? That also goes for the news. Don't need to watch the news. Most of it is propaganda, honestly. 2, toxic people. I'm sure you're thinking about someone that's in your life that's tearing you down that you don't know what to do with. So either sit down, have one uncomfortable conversation where you talk to them, you say exactly how you feel, just have the guts to do it, just do it, get it done with. And it'll go either one way or the other. Either they see what you're saying, they hear you, and you guys both make a compromise and something works out for the better, or they say no, and you get to see your eyes open up to what kind of person they are, and you move forward. You go away from them. And number 1, keep God in first place. Live your life, read your Bible, pray, because only He can truly help you to the very extent to be fully joyful. And not just, good, not anxious every day, but full of joy, full of everything that is good, everything that is right, to have order in your life. That's pretty much it. Yeah,